In Google Cloud, there's one concept that really stands between a beautifully designed environment and just total chaos. It's the GCP project. And today, we are going to master it because it is the absolute bedrock of everything you'll ever build. So let's dive right in.
To really wrap our heads around why this is so important, let's try an analogy. Imagine you're building a city, a whole city, and get this, there are no property lines, no lots, no addresses, no zoning laws. How would you even begin to manage utilities? Who owns what? It would be an absolute mess, right? Well, that's exactly what happens in the cloud if you don't have a way to organize things.
And that is where the GCP project steps in. It's the property line for your entire digital world. A project is basically the fundamental container for all your cloud resources. We're talking your virtual machines, your databases, your storage buckets, the whole shebang. Everything you build has to live inside a project.
But a project is so much more than just a simple folder. Honestly, you should think of it as having 4 built-in superpowers that give you complete control over your cloud environment. Let's break down these 4 pillars one by one.
First up is isolation. This is huge. A project creates a virtual wall between your different environments. So say you have a development project and a production project. A bug or a bad configuration you push in your dev environment can't accidentally touch or take down your mission-critical production system. It's a fantastic safety mechanism.
All right, pillar number 2, billing. Every single thing inside a project is tied to one and only one billing account. And this is a game changer for managing costs. If you're a consultant, for example, you can create one project for client A and another for client B, and boom, you get a perfectly itemized bill for each one. No more trying to guess who used what.
Pillar 3 is all about IAM, which is just Google's fancy term for controlling who can do what. The project is the main enforcement point for permissions, so you can give your developers full admin rights in the dev project, where they need to go wild and experiment, but then grant them only read-only access to the production project. It's all about putting the right security controls at exactly the right level.
And our last pillar, number 4, quotas and limits. So Google Cloud sets default limits on how many resources you can spin up, like the number of VMs. These are all applied at the project level. This means you can request much higher quotas for, say, a data analytics project that needs a ton of power, without worrying that some other small project is going to accidentally run wild.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how a project is actually identified. Every single project has not 1, not 2, but 3 distinct identifiers. Think of them like its unique fingerprints. And I gotta tell you, this is super important to get right, especially if you're studying for any of the GCP certifications.
Let's break this down. First, you've got the project name. This one's for us humans. It's a friendly label, like My Awesome App, and you can change it anytime you want. Then we have the project ID. Now this is for the machines, for the APIs. It's globally unique, something like My Awesome App 123. And here's the key. It is immutable. You can never, ever change it. Why? Because every API call and every internal Google service uses this ID to find your stuff. And finally, there's the project number. It's automatically generated, also unique, and also completely immutable.
So if you remember just one thing from this section, let it be this. The name is changeable, flexible, but the ID and the number, they are permanent, set in stone, forever. The name is a friendly label on the outside, but the ID and number are the project's true unchangeable identity.
Now, projects also have a life cycle, and it's not just as simple as create and delete. There's this really fascinating middle ground that I like to call the 30-day zombie state.
So here's how it plays out. When you decide you're done with a project, you first shut it down. It doesn't just vanish. Instead, it enters this 30-day grace period. During this time, it's totally unusable, but all your data is fully preserved. You have a whole month to say, whoops, I made a mistake, and restore it completely. But after those 30 days are up, it's gone for good.
That 30-day window is a pretty great safety net, right? But it does lead to a critical question. What if you have a project that is so important you can't even risk it entering that zombie state? How do you protect it from accidental deletion by even your most trusted administrator?
So let me just ask you directly, how do you stop an admin, or heck, how do you stop yourself on a late night after too much coffee from accidentally hitting delete on your main production project?
Well, Google has a very specific answer for this problem. It's a feature called a project lien. And a lien is exactly what it sounds like. It's a lock. It's an explicit do not delete flag that you place on a project, and believe me, it is incredibly powerful.
And I mean really powerful. Look at this. A lien blocks everyone. Even a user who has the highest level owner role cannot delete a project if it has a lien on it. To get rid of the project, you first have to have the specific permission to remove the lien itself. It is the ultimate safety net.
All right, let's pull all this together into a few key takeaways. First, structure. Projects are your containers for keeping things isolated, tracking billing, and managing permissions. Second, immutability. The project name can change, but that ID and number are forever. And third, security. Remember you have that 30-day recovery window, and for your most critical projects, use a project lien to prevent accidental deletion.
So as you can see, understanding the GCP project isn't just some minor detail. It's everything. It's the absolute foundation. A well-managed project structure is the bedrock of a secure, a scalable, and a cost-effective cloud.
Okay, so we've laid the foundation, and we've even secured it from being accidentally torn down. But that just brings up the next big question. How do you control who gets to build on that foundation? Who actually holds the keys to the kingdom? That's what we'll tackle in our next explainer on IAM. Thanks for watching.